What if your habits aren't actually the problem? What if the space around you is quietly running the show and you never even noticed? You've made the decision to eat better. You've committed to saving more. You've told yourself this time is different, and then nothing changed. The same food was still in the kitchen. The same money still disappeared. The decision was real. But your environment was stronger. This isn't a motivational speech. And it's definitely not an excuse to avoid taking responsibility. This is actually the conclusion of decades of serious research the self-help industry has every reason to bury. Because if your habits are the problem, you need a new book, a new course, a new morning routine. That keeps the self-help industry very profitable. But it doesn't actually fix anything, not permanently. Because if your environment is the problem, none of those things get to the root. You already know this. You've felt it. The environment won every single time. So today we're going to talk about why that happens, not at the motivational level, but at the biological level. We're going to look at how your environment is shaping your body chemistry, your gut health, your brain's reward system, and your money decisions all at the same time. Once you see how all of this works, the fix becomes completely obvious. And it is not more discipline. You need a different container. Let's build the case from the ground up. Most people think of their environment as just the backdrop, the setting, the stage their choices happen on. That model is completely wrong. Your environment is not passive. It is constantly sending signals into your body, signals your brain and your hormones respond to right now. This happens through multiple channels at the exact same time, and most people have no idea it's happening. First, what you see. A messy, chaotic, visually overwhelming space actually raises your stress hormone levels. Your brain is constantly running a quiet threat scan of your surroundings. When the environment signals disorder, your threat alarm stays on. Second, what you hear. Constant noise traffic, thin walls, construction keeps your body in a low-level fight or flight state. That noise doesn't have to be loud enough to bother you consciously. It still activates your brain's alarm system while you sleep. The result? Higher stress hormones, worse sleep quality, less ability for your body to fully recover overnight. Third, the people you spend time with. They are literally calibrating your nervous system, not just influencing your mood. Your brain is wired to share its regulation with the people around you. Scientists call this social baseline theory. When your social group is constantly stressed and financially stretched, your own nervous system calibrates to match that. This is measurable. You can see it in stress hormone levels, heart rate patterns, and markers of inflammation in the blood. Fourth, your food environment. What food is physically available to you determines what you eat far more than your intentions do. And what you eat determines the health of your gut, which directly shapes your brain chemistry, your mood, and your mental sharpness. Fifth, money pressure. Constantly worrying about finances actually uses up brain power. Real, measurable brain power. Research from Princeton and Harvard showed that financial stress can reduce your effective thinking capacity by the same amount as pulling an all-nighter. None of this is a character flaw. None of it is a discipline failure. These are environmental inputs producing biological outputs, and here's the most critical insight in this entire video. Most people spend enormous energy trying to override those outputs while leaving the inputs completely unchanged. That is exactly why it doesn't work. Now let's get specific. Where you live is not just an address. It is a chronic biological exposure happening every single day. Every day, in a particular neighborhood, your body is being hit with a specific set of environmental stressors, most of which you cannot even consciously feel. Let's start with noise. Chronic traffic noise raises your stress hormones, raises your blood pressure, and breaks up your sleep even when it doesn't fully wake you. People living near heavy traffic show measurably higher stress hormone levels across the full day, even when you control for their income, age, and health. The noise is still activating parts of your brain while you sleep, triggering tiny wake-ups that stop you reaching the deep recovery stages your body needs. Now here's the part that genuinely surprised me. Air quality. Specifically, tiny pollution particles in the air they can cross into your brain. Once inside the brain, those particles switch on the brain's immune response. That immune response starts producing inflammatory chemicals inside your actual brain. And that brain inflammation directly weakens your decision-making ability. It reduces your brain's reward signals. It has been linked to depression, mental decline, and impulse control problems. People living in high pollution areas are breathing genuinely brain-damaging compounds every single day. Their reduced mental sharpness is not motivational, it is environmental and biological. Now here's where it gets interesting. Green space, trees, parks, natural environments, they are not just nice to look at. Being near nature measurably lowers your stress hormone levels. It quiets the alarm part of your brain. It restores your focused thinking capacity. Neighborhoods without green space are literally removing a natural stress-regulating tool from the daily lives of everyone who lives there. And then there's safety. When your brain perceives your neighborhood as unsafe, it keeps a low-level alarm running continuously. Your alarm brain stays partially on. Your decision-making brain gets partially switched off. You are spending mental energy on threat watching that you could be spending on planning your future. This is not a weakness. This is your brain doing exactly what it was built to do in an environment that signals real danger. The problem is that this ancient survival response was designed for short-term emergencies, not for building long-term wealth. The same brain state that kept your ancestors alive on the savannah is keeping modern people reactive, exhausted, and short-term focused in neighborhoods that never switch it off. And here is the financial consequence that almost nobody connects. The neighborhoods with the most environmental stress are also the neighborhoods with the fewest financial resources. The people most biologically damaged by their environment are the people with the least ability to change it. That is not a coincidence. It is a self-reinforcing system. Now let's talk about the people in your life, because they are not just shaping your habits and your mood, they are calibrating your nervous system. This sounds dramatic, but the science is genuinely unambiguous on this one. Your brain has systems that automatically mirror the emotional and physical state of people around you. When you're near someone who's chronically stressed, your own stress response partially activates. When you're near someone calm and settled, your own system actually relaxes. Your body is borrowing their stability. That is neurological entrainment. A researcher named James Cone developed social baseline theory. His idea is this: your nervous system was built to share the job of staying calm with trusted people around you. When your social circle is calm, resourced, and forward-thinking, your nervous system borrows stability from the group. You're actually more regulated. When your social circle is constantly stressed, financially struggling, and psychologically overwhelmed, your nervous system absorbs that fully. And the biological consequences are measurable. People in high-conflict, high-stress social environments show elevated inflammation markers in their blood independent of their personal lifestyle choices. Now here is where it connects directly to your finances. Research consistently shows that your income, your savings rate, and your spending patterns converge toward the average of your 5 closest relationships over time. This is usually explained as social pressure or copying behavior. But the biological mechanism goes much deeper than that. When everyone around you is operating in financial survival mode, spending impulsively, avoiding planning, treating money as something that flows through rather than builds, your nervous system calibrates to that as the normal baseline. The brain state required for wealth building actually requires a feeling of safety and a future focus. And that is neurologically hard to maintain when your social world is screaming scarcity at you constantly. Your social circle is not just influencing your decisions, it is influencing the biological state from which you make every decision. That is a completely different problem. And here is the part almost nobody talks about: dopamine. Your brain's motivation and drive chemical. It is being shaped by your environment. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure, it's your brain's prediction engine. It tells you what to want, what to work toward, what feels worth it. When your social environment constantly shows spending on status, avoiding financial risk, and living for right now as the rewarding thing to do, your dopamine system learns that. It encodes those as the correct targets. Changing what you want at the neurological level requires changing the environment that is training your brain what to want. That is not a small point. Now let's talk about food. Not in the way you're used to hearing about it. What is physically available to you in your home, in your neighborhood, in the places you pass every day determines what you actually eat, far more than your intentions or your nutritional knowledge. This is one of the most consistently proven findings in behavioral science and public health research. And it is almost never talked about this way. Here is what almost nobody tells you. Your gut contains roughly 38 trillion bacteria. That ecosystem is one of the main regulators of your brain chemistry, your immune system, and your inflammation levels. The health of that gut ecosystem is determined largely by what you eat, and what you eat is determined largely by what is available and accessible around you. So-called food deserts neighborhoods where fresh whole food is genuinely hard to access or too expensive are not just nutrition problems. They are brain chemistry problems. They are thinking capacity problems. Here is the precise chain. Ultra-processed foods. The ones that dominate low-resource food environments are high in refined carbs, industrial vegetable oils, and artificial additives, and they are nearly empty in the fiber your gut bacteria actually need. Without the right fiber, the bacteria that protect your gut lining start to die off. Your gut wall weakens, and bacterial toxins start leaking through into your bloodstream, triggering full-body inflammation. Then there's blood sugar. Refined carbs cause rapid spikes and then crashes in your blood sugar. During those crash phases, your decision-making brain is genuinely impaired, for hours at a time. And industrial vegetable oils shift your body's inflammation balance in the wrong direction, chronically. Every single day you eat them. Now here is the part that genuinely changes things. Your gut produces around 90% of your body's serotonin, the chemical most connected to your mood, your stability, and your sense of well-being. When your gut is disrupted by a processed food environment, serotonin drops, mood destabilizes, anxiety increases, depression risk rises, and the optimism you need to pursue long-term financial goals becomes genuinely harder to access neurochemically. Your gut is also a major production site for the building blocks of dopamine. Disrupt the gut, disrupt motivation, disrupt the ability to delay gratification, disrupt the consistency that actually builds results over time. The food environment is not just making people unhealthy, it is making people neurochemically less equipped to escape the environment that is making them unhealthy. That is the trap. This is not a personal failing. It is a systems problem operating at the biological level. Now, beyond your neighborhood, your social circle, and your food environment, there is a fourth layer that most people never even examine as a variable. Your screens, your content, your news feed, your social media, the conversations you overhear, the ads you absorb, the emotional tone of everything you consume. None of these inputs are neutral. They are training your nervous system continuously, every single day. Social media platforms are engineered at the code level to maximize your engagement by activating your emotions, specifically outrage, anxiety, social comparison, and fear. Because those emotional states produce the highest engagement numbers. Your stress hormones spike, your alarm brain activates. Every minute you spend in that environment is a minute spent physiologically stressed. Chronic social media consumption has been shown to raise baseline anxiety, increase social comparison stress, reduce your belief in your own ability to change things, and create what researchers call doom-scrolling-induced learned helplessness. Learned helplessness means you can see the destination, but your brain stops believing the car will move. It is the state most directly opposed to building wealth. Now here is where this connects to your money specifically. Financial anxiety driven by media consumption pushes your thinking into the short term. When your alarm brain is chronically activated, you assign less value to future rewards. Right now always wins. This is the neurological reason behind impulsive spending, failing to invest, and the inability to delay gratification for long-term financial gain. And then there's social comparison. When your reference group is a curated feed of people displaying wealth and lifestyle, whether it's real or performed, your brain's social status alarm activates. That status anxiety drives spending on visible signals of belonging and success, and it does so at the direct expense of the saving and investing behavior that would produce actual financial security. And there is one more layer here. Every time you reach for your phone when you're bored or uncomfortable, you are training your brain that instant digital stimulation is the correct response to low stimulation. Over time, this reduces your tolerance for the slow, unglamorous, low stimulation activities that actually build wealth and health. Consistent saving, meal prep, exercise, reading, skill development. Your daily content environment is not just entertainment, it is neurological conditioning, and most people never examine it as a variable at all. Now here is what makes all of this genuinely serious. Each of these environmental layers produces measurable biological damage in isolation. But in the lives of most people, they do not operate in isolation. They stack. The person living in a high-noise, high-pollution, low-greenery neighborhood is also typically living in a high-stress social environment, a poor food environment, and a high-anxiety media environment. These are not independent variables. They are correlated exposures that cluster together and multiply each other's effects. Here is the compound chain. Neighborhood stress disrupts your sleep. Disrupted sleep damages your gut during the overnight repair window. A damaged gut increases full-body inflammation. Full-body inflammation weakens your decision-making brain. A weakened decision-making brain reduces your capacity for smart financial behavior. Reduced financial capacity increases financial stress. Increased financial stress raises your stress hormones. And then you're back at the beginning. This is the compound effect of stacked environmental exposures, and it creates a biological state that is genuinely hostile to building health and wealth at the same time. And here is the genuinely cruel irony. The conventional interventions, budgeting apps, fitness challenges, motivational content, productivity systems are being applied to people who are operating in biological states that make those interventions structurally unlikely to succeed. Not because the people are incapable, because the container is broken. This is where it becomes actionable. Because understanding this problem at the environmental level doesn't just explain why conventional advice fails. It reveals exactly what actually works. The principle is simple. Change the input, change the output. Modify the environment, modify the biology, modify the biology, modify the behavior, modify the behavior, modify the outcome. Start with your home environment. Your home is the one environment you have the most direct control over, and it is supposed to be where your nervous system recovers from the outside world. If your home environment is chaotic, cluttered, and stressful, you are eliminating the recovery window your biology actually requires. Reducing visual clutter has measurable effects on your stress hormone levels. Adding plants has documented effects on stress markers and air quality. And controlling your light exposure in the evening is one of the highest leverage sleep improvements you can make at literally zero cost. These are not aesthetic preferences. They are biological inputs. Next, restructure your food environment before you try to restructure your diet. What is physically in your home determines what you eat with far more reliability than your intentions do. Remove the ultra-processed foods from your environment. Replace them with whole food alternatives. You are changing the default, not fighting it. Behavioral economists call this choice architecture. The goal is not to make better choices under pressure. The goal is to design your environment so the default choice is already the better one. Now deliberately engineer your social exposure. This does not mean abandoning your existing relationships. It means adding regulated, forward-thinking, financially grounded people to your social ecosystem. The biological calibration effect works both ways. Increasing your exposure to people operating from a place of psychological security and long-term thinking gradually shifts your own nervous system's baseline. Seek out professional communities, learning groups, interest communities where the social baseline is the state you are trying to move toward. Your nervous system will do most of the rest automatically. Now treat your content environment like a biological input. Audit what your sensory environment is feeding your nervous system every day. Reduce high-anxiety news and social media consumption not as a productivity hack, but as a genuine stress hormone management strategy. Replace high-stimulation passive consumption with lower stimulation inputs that train your dopamine system toward patience and sustained focus. This is about recognizing that your content environment is continuously training your neurochemistry and choosing to have some agency over what it's training you toward. And finally, create a small financial buffer as a biological intervention. Research on mental capacity and financial stress shows that even a small financial safety net measurably reduces your stress hormones and measurably improves your decision-making brain capacity. The first financial priority in an environmental redesign is not optimizing investment returns. It is removing your body from the state of chronic financial threat. Every dollar of genuine emergency savings is a stress hormone reduction. Every stress hormone reduction is an inflammation reduction. Every inflammation reduction is a decision-making brain recovery. Every decision-making brain recovery is an improvement in the cognitive state from which every subsequent financial decision gets made. The financial intervention and the biological intervention are the same action. Now here is the part I want you to actually feel. Everything described so far about how environments degrade biology and behavior also runs in reverse, completely. Environments that lower your stress hormones improve your thinking. Better thinking produces better decisions. Better decisions produce better outcomes. Better outcomes reduce stress. Reduced stress improves sleep. Improved sleep repairs your gut. A repaired gut stabilizes your brain chemistry. Stable brain chemistry makes sustained behavior change neurologically accessible rather than heroically difficult. That is the positive environmental feedback loop. And it compounds exactly the way the negative one does. The people who appear to have exceptional discipline, exceptional financial habits, and exceptional health are often people whose environments are doing a significant portion of that work invisibly. Their neighborhoods lower stress hormones rather than raising them. Their social circles calibrate their nervous systems toward security rather than scarcity. Their food environments make whole food the easiest choice. Their content environments train their brains toward patience. They are not more disciplined. They are better environmentally resourced. And here is the genuinely empowering conclusion. Environments are not fixed. They are designed consciously or by default. Most people are living in environments that were designed by default, shaped by circumstance and inertia, rather than intentional construction. The work is not to develop more willpower inside a broken environment. The work is to redesign the environment one variable at a time, starting with whatever is most accessible to you right now, so that the biological state your environment produces is one where health and wealth are the natural outputs, not the heroic exceptions. You were never the problem. The container was. Your spending patterns, your food choices, your inconsistent exercise, your difficulty saving, your motivation that shows up and then disappears. These are not character defects. They are the predictable biological outputs of the environmental inputs you have been absorbing continuously below the level of conscious awareness. Your stress hormones are being set by your neighborhood. Your brain chemistry is being calibrated by your social circle. Your gut, and through it, your mood, your motivation, and your thinking capacity is being shaped by your food environment. And your dopamine system is being trained by your content environment. None of those inputs change when you decide to try harder. They change when you change them. Not all at once, not perfectly, not with resources you don't have. You start with the environment closest to you, your home, your phone, your kitchen, and you make it produce slightly different biological outputs than it did yesterday. Then you let the biology do what biology does when it's given better inputs. It computes differently. It decides differently. It builds differently. Your environment is not your destiny, but it is your starting point. And now you know exactly what to do with it. Have you ever made a genuine decision to change something in your life and then watched your environment make it almost impossible? I genuinely want to know what happened. Tell me in the comments below. And if this is the level at which you want to understand how your body, your mind, and your financial life are genuinely connected, subscribe. Every video on this channel operates at this depth, not surface level, not generic, the actual system.